Right, Jacob, can you do... Right. Can you move the mic away from your mouth a little bit? You sound like you're eating it. Okay, are you there?
Yeah.
Quick test on my internet just to see if that's what's causing the issue.
We may need to be a bit quicker as well. Like a short summary on each of them this time.
Thanks. Okay. It's a bit high up. Move it down just a touch. Otherwise that will... Perfect. And we've got the window out of shot. Right, okay, start it when you're ready.
So it's going to be from CKJC, and today I'm going to be helping Ian doing his Premier League predictions. How are you, Ian? And are you ready to do your predictions?
Yes, indeed. Oh, I've blown that. That question came at me out of the blue. Changed the question, and then I didn't know what to say. Can we keep the question the same, please? Because that one just came right out of the blue, and I didn't know how to answer it. Last time you asked me how I was first, and then you asked me was I ready, and then you just load it all into one sentence, and I'm there. Okay, we'll try again.
Take 4.
Okay.
Hello, it's Jacob from CKJC, and today I'm going to be helping Ian doing his Premier League predictions. How are you, Ian?
I'm good, thank you.
And are you ready to start?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, right. So, who have you got in 20th?
In 20th, I've got Sheffield United.
I could see that happening, but I've got a more obvious answer. Explain why you put them.
I've put them there because whenever they've always gotten to the top flight before, they've always gone down the same season. Well, the next season, obviously, because they can't go down the same season as they came up, because otherwise they wouldn't come up, they'd just stay where they were. But if you look back to when Sheffield United had previously been in the Premier League, I mean, they had a great manager in Dave Bassett in the early 90s. And I think he got them to survive.
I think come from Sheffield United, to be honest. Anything notable?
That's the... No. I just...
Well...
Yeah. United in 20th.
Who's bought in 19th?
Well, speaking of struggling teams that might, teams that might struggle in the Premier League, I've put Luton in 19th.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to happen because I'd love to see Luton become a success story, especially after them going nearly bankrupt a few years ago.
Yeah, they were in the National League.
And I mean, like, they used to have a really famous chairman. Not a lot of people, unless you're of a certain age, you wouldn't know of the late, great Eric Morecambe. He was a very, very famous comedian in the 70s and early 80s who died in 1984. And he used to be chairman of Luton Town, and I'd be most happy to see them in the state they're in right now. I don't want them to go down, but I just got a funny feeling they're not going to have them to survive.
Yeah, I don't want them to go down, but it's likely that they will. Alright, well,
unfortunately,
who have you put into the first relegation, into the 18th? Who have you put in 18th?
In the last relegation spot, I've put Burnley. Another team, same as Sheffield United, who very rarely do well when they hit the top flight. It'll be interesting when Burnley play Everton. I'm sure I don't need to explain to you why Burnley playing Everton will be an interesting game.
You might need to. I'm lost.
Sean Dyche returns to Turf Moor.
Alright. I was thinking of Vincent Kompany. Why is Vincent Kompany going back to Everton important?
No, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting when he goes to Crystal Palace. In Crystal Palace versus Vincent Kompany again. Burnley, innit?
I'm so confused.
Didn't Kompany manage Crystal Palace?
No, that's Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. Cut that. Cut that bit. I've got the wrong player.
Alright. Okay. So anyway, you think all the teams that got promoted are going to go straight back down?
Well, I mean, I had a bit of a toss-up between Burnley and Bournemouth. I just think Bournemouth will be slightly better equipped to cope this season.
I think the opposite.
Against...
I think Burnley are going to go...
Really?
I think they're going to go... Bournemouth are going to go down.
I don't think Bournemouth are going to be far from the relegation fight all season. I don't think I don't think they're a team that's mainstay Premier League team. But whether or not they get relegated this season, I'm not sure. From the three teams that have come up, I don't see anything that says to me they're going to be... I mean, probably the best equipped might be Luton, but I still think they're going to underachieve.
Alright, well...
Unfortunately, that's my bottom three.
Well, we've gone through... You've said Bournemouth will finish 17th.
Yeah, I got Bournemouth in 17th because I just don't see them surviving. If they do survive, which I've got them down to, it will be margin.
It'll be very surprising. Survive. Okay, well, who is in 16th place?
16th place I've given to Nottingham Forest. Even though they had what for them would be a good season last season, I think the inexperienced manager and some of the other factors, I mean, they've made a good signing recently. Getting former Manchester United player, Langer. But I still don't think it's going to be enough to keep them. I don't think it's going to be enough to keep them out of the relegation battle.
I think Elanga will help. I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle for most of the season. Maybe at the start of the season, then they can't get the bearings right. They'll be low down, but they won't get relegated.
I don't think they'll get relegated. He showed good resiliency last year, and I think they'll do okay.
Alright.
I don't think they'll be setting the Premier League on fire.
No, they won't. I think they'll be they'll be below mid-table, I'd say.
Yeah.
15th. Who is at 15th?
Who is at 15th? That is a good question. At 15th, I've got Fulham, who I think... The reason why I've got them quite low is because I think they're going to struggle without Mitrovic.
I agree.
That is going to be a real blow to them to lose Mitrovic, because I think a lot of their goals came from him last season, and can't see where they're going to come from now that he's gone.
Yeah,
so I really think they're going to struggle. He was, and he had been... he refuses to train with the team, and the manager said if he refuses to train, he's not playing. So it doesn't look like he's going to be playing any more games at all for Fulham. So I think they're going to be looking to get rid of him as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's probably going to Saudi Arabia, to be honest. I can't see Fulham doing much this season. They had a brilliant start last season, playing against like Liverpool and sorts, but this season.
Thank you for bringing that up.
But this season, no one wants to do much.
Could bring up the fact that Bolton Wanderers aren't even in the Championship.
Hurricane 4 is coming 14th.
In 14th, I've got Everton. Our local rivals. Well, allegedly rivals, but I quite like Everton, but I just don't think Sean Dyche has done enough to get them anything above mid-table. I don't see them having I don't see them having the problems of last season, but I do see them not gaining anywhere near the European places. I don't think they're going to threaten the European places. And that's simply because they just don't have the squad.
They don't.
They're an alright squad, but it's a mid-table Premier League squad at the best.
Ashley Young doesn't really inspire me.
Not really, no. It's not showing great Premier League ambition. But then, is Sean Dyche really ever going to challenge for the Premier League title? Up there, I mean, I couldn't imagine. Well, 3 great Premier League managers of all time: Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, and Sean Dyche.
He's up there. Sean Dyche is a brilliant manager. He's a well-trained. I don't know. I just like Sean Dyche.
I'm glad you do, because I think his tactics and his formations are very outdated. I think Roy Hodgson is more up to scratch than him, and that's saying something.
Right, who's in 13th? Who's in 13th?
13th, and speaking of Roy Hodgson, here he comes with Crystal Palace.
Roy Hodgson's not a very good manager.
I disagree with you. He's all right if you want your team staying in the league and, you know, rounding off around mid-table. I think he's your man. But any further, you'll need to look for a different manager.
No club wants to be a mid-table team for the entirety of their existence.
I mean, let's be honest, teams like Crystal Palace and that are just grateful to be in the Premier League. They know that unless they put a heavy investment in, they're not going to be challenging for the top. So a lot of teams are just grateful to stay in the Premier League, and I think Crystal Palace are one of them. As long as they're not fighting relegation, I think they're quite happy. And good luck to them, because without teams like that, there would be no Premier League.
Fair enough. Yes. Accurate.
And it takes all sorts to make a Premier League. I mean, you can't just have your Manchester Cities and that, or you may as well have your Super League, but that whole Super League fiasco brought back. It's just the big teams, and all the little teams have to go off and watch the big teams play, and yeah, when we started on that, because that was a fiasco.
Yeah,
by people who don't know anything about football and trying to just make as much money as they can, because to me that's all it was. It was just a money-making scheme for the chairman to be richer and the smaller clubs to end up bankrupt practically.
Let's continue on about the Premier League. Who is gonna finish 12th? Is it 12th or is it 11th? Are we on 11th?
And we're on 12th.
12th. Who's gonna finish 12th?
I've got in 12th West Ham United.
Without Declan Rice, yeah, I can see that.
Declan Rice is a big loss. He's not only a really good player for them, but he was also their captain.
When you lose a captain,
without him,
leadership just falls.
It's going to be a tough start to the season, and I think they're going to struggle a bit. Most people would say they should be challenging for the European places, but the problem with West Ham is they're a selling club. Anytime they get a decent player, they end up having to sell him. And that's a shame, because I'd like to see them in, challenging. I mean, having won Europa Conference last season, I'd like to see them doing good in the Europa League, but unfortunately they sell all their best players, and when you do that, mid-table is the best you can hope for.
But selling Declan Rice could do two things for the club. Either they could fall heavily down the table, or they could become like they could rise like Aston Villa did when they sold Jack Grealish.
The problem is, if they're going to rise like Aston Villa, as you quoted, they're going to need David Moyes to invest the money from Declan Rice wisely. Because the thing is, Villa never really missed Jack Grealish because they invested the money wisely and got themselves a couple of players who were pretty good going, and they've done well with what they've got. If West Ham can do the same, maybe they could challenge for European places again, and maybe Europa League wouldn't be an impossibility. But it's how they're going to spend that money they've got from Declan Rice. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait. 12th then. Who have we got 12th?
It's West Ham.
Who got 11th?
Another one for the edit zone. Okay, let's move on to my number 11. In number 11, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. Sorry, Jack, if that's a bit low. I know you were hoping I'd put them one, but I think 11 is the best I can achieve for them. And again, Wolves are the same situation, basically, as West Ham. They sell a lot of their good players, and that's why they're going to... Exactly. And they just tend to just... Take your hand out from under the duvet, please. It's distracting. Oh, you've made me lose my chain now. There's another edit for you. And back to position. To position. We start again at 11. We start again at 11.
Right. Who's got 11th?
In 11th, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers, and basically they're the same situation as West Ham. They're a mid-table team who sell off when players start showing any signs of being good for them. They end up having to sell them off. Sorry, Jack, if that's a bit low for you, because I know you were hoping I'd put them number one, but I've got to have some kind of realism here, Jack. But I think 11th is a good place for them. I mean, considering last season, they were around Christmas they were struggling, and they were looking like relegation candidates. And then in came Julien Lopetegui out of nowhere and basically kept them safe with 3 games to spare. So I think he's a good manager, and I think he's pretty, he seems to know what he's doing. So I think mid-table, I think where I've put them in 11th is basically the minimum of where I think they're going to finish. Who knows where they could end up with that manager. Mr. Lopetegui has done well with them. He's turned them from relegation candidates into mid-table. If he carries on making progress like he did last season, I'm going to be surprised to see them pushing for a European place.
I would be surprised. Right, yes, pause. My mum's calling me. We'll cut this out. Pause. Sorry.
We did it all in one take last time. Now we've had it about 6.
Is this? Where's the logo? We up to 11th?
Hang on, just a quick question before we start again.
Mm.
Where are we starting at?
Pardon?
Where are we starting at? Badly.
It doesn't say that it's on my Discord. I don't know what is happening.
Could be me. Just let me do something. Okay, so we're going to start from 11th again, are we?
The position after Wolves.
It was a bit cluttered. No, we'll start with Wolves because I think that was Wolves again.
Yep, are we in 11th?
Right. Right, so... Okay, so when you're ready, let me know.
Right. So, who have you got in 11th then, Ian?
Fortunately, I don't see them getting that far up. Don't get me wrong, since he's joined the club, Julian Lopetegui has done a marvellous job. He's done them from relegation because if he carries on progressing the way he did during half the season last season, this season, it could be dark horses to challenge for a European place. It will be their lowest position.
I'm predicting mid-table.
I still wouldn't be surprised not to see them pushing Brighton and Brentford.
Happened.
Eh?
Leicester won the Premier League. We all still can't believe that happened. So anything can really happen.
Very unique situation where basically there was 3 teams on the last day of the season fighting relegation, and all 3 of them are Premier League mainstays, and that's Southampton, Leicester and Everton. 2 of them had to go. It's just a sign of a really bad season Leicester had, and they got a few teams ever bounce straight back. It's very hard to bounce straight back. And there's some tough teams down in the old Championship next season.
It's in 11th.
I mean, who's in 10th?
So Ian, who have you got in 10th?
Have I got in 10th?
So Ian, who have you got in 10th?
In 10th place, Jacob, I've got Brentford, and the only reason I've put them quite low down, because normally I would have them a bit higher than this, but I've put them in 10th because of the situation with Ivan Toney and the fact that he's banned until January.
That'll be amazing.
I'm just wondering where they're going to get the goals from between now and January. And I think they may struggle scoring-wise, so there may be a few bad results. Not allowed to participate in anything in football. Can't even train or anything. So he's going to have to get his fitness back. You could be looking February, March. He would, but I think they'll still be.
If they don't have a replacement, it's going to be a hard season until February for Brentford.
Yeah. They're going to have to...
Who have you got at 9th?
In 9th, I've put Aston Villa, who I think, under Unai Emery, have made some very shrewd signings. Definitely look like a good little side.
Yeah.
Whether they perform, we'll just have to wait and see, but I'm going to put them in 9th.
We know Unai Emery can
good luck. a good Premier League manager. He knows what he's doing. And he's taken to the Premier League really well.
Alright, in 8th place.
In 8th place, we have Brighton and Hove Albion.
Yeah, they'll drop.
Well, that is the problem. They're another team that are similar to the West Ham and Wolves. It's just of McAllister this year, and it's looking like Concedo is going as well. Doesn't bode well for them. The team that are going to be impacted by the players moving on, and it's going to make it a tough season for Brighton. But I still think
definitely stay in the Premier League, no doubt. They won't be back in Europe. They won't be Europe this season.
Don't think so. Not really. Can't see them getting any higher.
All right. Well, in the European Conference League spot, who have you got? Tino, but they won't be high up.
The thing is, I think Poch is going to need some time to get the team together because that is a team, and a lot of players have moved on, and I think they've only brought, Champions League. I think it's going to be another tough season for Chelsea. Maybe I feel I've been a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, in the second Europa League spot, who is it?
Okay, so in 6th, I have put Tottenham Hotspur.
Ooh.
Again, I feel I've been a bit generous with Spurs, but bear in mind, this is being recorded on the 26th of July. But at this moment in time, Harry Kane is still a Tottenham Hotspur player. I think that's why they. So it could end up being worse.
You can't really go from.
I think I'm putting
to Richarlison. Who is it? Who have you got?
5th place, I have put Manchester United.
I think
this is a very. I see this as a very important season for Erik ten Hag, and if he doesn't, I mean. People are saying he's a one-season wonder. Maybe he will, because if you remember when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over, his first season was incredibly successful. Is he going to prove himself again this year? I just don't know. I'm not so sure that it's going to be another, good season he's had. There were still some very, very dodgy results in there. And I think now he's got to get himself settled in. He's got no excuses this year. He can't say, well, I need time to settle down. The Bundesliga club. I think he'd want to go to Bayern Munich. And I think Tottenham would prefer to sell him to Bayern Munich. So is it, because they will view Manchester United as table rivals because, they're round about each other. I think they're going to struggle without a quality striker.
Yeah.
Can't see where, apart from Rashford, I can't see where it'd be disastrous.
Yeah, if Rashford get injured at any point, then it's gonna all go downhill for United and Erik ten Hag. But who is in the 4th Champions League spot?
Oh, moving on as we are, I have put in 4th Newcastle United. I think they're doing good, and I think they're heading in the right direction. I think the only thing that Newcastle need now is... I don't like to say this because I'm one of the biggest fans of English managers being in... I don't think Eddie Howe is the man to take Newcastle to a Premier League title. I don't think he's got the experience to do that. I think it's very much... see the big European names signing for Newcastle, whilst the manager is basically unknown.
Sorry? He spent 7 years
in the end, he couldn't keep them up. And I mean, to get them relegated after all that time says that he didn't achieve much at Bournemouth. And I don't think he's going to do much. And if Newcastle want to be successful and want to be challenging for the Premier League title, they're going to need a bigger name manager. So that's my main reason for putting them fourth, because I just don't see Eddie Howe.
You've got City, Liverpool or Arsenal. Who have you chosen?
Again, for similar reasons to Newcastle, I've gone for Arsenal for third. And he would have just took it in his stride. Whereas Arteta, I think he got a nosebleed from being so high up and ended up bottling it. And just don't. I think again, with a change of manager, I think they'd be better. They need a manager with much more experience.
Yeah.
And I think they could be. It could be. I mean, they've made some good signings, but it's how they're going to bed in and what the manager's plans are. I just can't see them making anything better than third.
Alright, well, you can either choose to be biased and put Liverpool first, or do the right thing and be honest. Which option have you chose?
I've put Liverpool in second place because I genuinely believe that we'll do okay, but the big problem is with us is injuries.
Yeah.
If we start the season like we did last season with an absolute shed load of injuries, I can see us being basically Europa League again. But hopefully this season we won't. And I mean, there's talks of Trent going into midfield, and if he does go into midfield, please tell me it looks a lot better now. But the defence, I still think we need at least another centre-back, maybe a wing-back as well. It could leak a few, and that's what I think is going to cost us the title.
And that title is obviously going to be going to your first place, which is
Manchester City.
Of course.
At this moment in time, I don't think...
Nothing
I mean, I don't think people... Yeah. I don't think there's any team capable in the Premier League of basically stopping them. I mean, even when they're not looking good by Christmas, they still come back and, I mean, like... Don't get me wrong, Liverpool did the same thing. Towards the end of the season, they went on a massive, basically winning streak, and that's how we got Europa League, because around January we were looking like we weren't even going to get Europa League, and City did exactly the same and basically took away blew Arsenal out of the game, and that's what they'll do, and that's why it's never over until, Manchester City are mathematically unable to win the league. They will always keep going at you, and that's why I just don't think anyone can compete with them at the moment.
They'll always find a way to win the league.
Exactly. I mean, if any other team... I mean, I'm not saying any other team can't win the league. Well, obviously they can, but it's just... I think the biggest thing that a lot of the teams need to do is they need to learn how to handle Erling Haaland. Because I think a lot of teams are not handling him well, and they're getting the chance. Him and Kevin De Bruyne could basically run that team on their own. Because De Bruyne's passing and Haaland's finishing is pretty good, but if teams can counter them, then maybe there is a chance that it could be another team winning the Premier League. But at this moment in time, just don't see it. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Alright, well, that concludes Ian's football Premier League predictions. There's no denying that City will come first. I'd like to thank Ian for letting me join him today. And everyone have a good day. like, subscribe, hit the bell again, check out the links, do all of that stuff, and
Actually, ignore Jacob on that. Don't hit the bell twice, so you won't get notifications.
Is it 3
He's told you.
times?
That's better.
Hit the bell 3 times. And thank you all for watching. I've been Jacob, this is Ian, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
See ya.